Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Settle for More podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Wright, and I have designed this space for you. Yeah, you, the woman who is ready to walk out on her fears, step into her dreams, and own her power by shifting her mindset from feeling not enough to taking action and to becoming more than enough whilst settling for more. So here is the thought upon which we will have our conversation today. I always like to start with a thought just so we can head somewhere. It gives us an agenda, right? I believe that when you're intentional, usually you have an agenda. Sometimes there's a little agendas. What nuggets can I get right now? And the big agenda is, how is it going to impact my life? So let's talk about the foundation upon which we will build our conversation today. I will know love. Love it, love. I will know love when I realize my life is the sacred and holy ground of love. I will know life when I realize that my life is sacred and my life is the holy ground of love. Self-leaders, CEOs. Are you ready for this? I don't think you're ready. I don't think you're ready to hear this morning. It is not loving to stay in a place or an experience where you are unhappy sometimes and sad most of the times. So it is not loving that you will remain in an experience or in a place where you're happy sometimes and you're sad most of the times. Neither is it loving to convince yourself that it is okay to stay in a place where you are not loved, honored, and valued the way your heart tells you that you deserve to be. It is not self-loving, nor is it loving to others involved, to allow yourself to be mentally, emotionally, or physically abused in hope that things can and will get better. I've often say that hope is not a strategy, right? Because hope means, you know what? Anywhere, I'm hoping things will change, right? So staying in places where you are tolerated and not celebrated is not loving. It's not loving to you. It's not loving to the other people that are involved in the experience, right? And we're talking about relationships. We're talking about friendships, partnerships. We're talking about places in an environment. So it could be a physical environment. It could be a job. It is not loving to remain in a place and space where your heart's desire to feel loved, to feel appreciated, to feel valued is not being met. Now, research shows that when you think about organizations and the reasons people will leave their jobs or underperform, is because they don't feel valued. If you look on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, a sense of belonging and relationships and feeling valued is a part of that. It is human nature to have these desires. So it's not wrong if you're in an environment and you feel as though you want to experience people validating you, people appreciating you, people celebrating you. Now, if your sole reason for being there are those reasons, then we probably need to question that, right? But it is one of the reasons, not the main reason. Because if you are passionate about something, let's say a job or a person or an experience, and you're not getting that same energy in the space, so it's not being reciprocated, after a while, it will drain you. So if you're in an environment or having experiences that are not allowing you to feel that way, it is not self-loving. And if you're not experiencing that level of love, it's going to be hard, really hard, for you to exude that, for you to give that without feeling resentful. So start thinking about the places and the experiences that you're having. Are you hoping that things will change? And you continue to put out all that you have and it's not being reciprocated, you're going to end up in diminishing return after a while, because everybody wants to feel celebrated and tolerated and validated and valued, right? You want to feel as though you matter, right? And whilst it's not solely dependent on others, it is important, because this is sometimes how you gauge, is this where I want to be? Okay. So when you participate in actions and activities that are not loving towards you, you are helping them do things that hurt you, and that's not a loving thing to do. So if you're in an environment that is abusive, whether it be mentally, emotionally, or physically abusive, and you're hoping things will get better, and you continue to remain in that space, enabling whomever the abuser is or the person who's violating you, but you are still participating in these activities and they are not aware, of it, or even if they are and they're doing it intentionally, the fact that you are participating in it says that you are endorsing it. It's not loving to you. It's not loving to the relationship. And you are enabling those individuals to continue to hurt, disrespect, disregard, devalue, and abuse you. So let us just take some accountability this morning, where if you are not removing yourself from places and spaces where you're just being tolerated, you continue to show up, you continue to participate, you continue to give of yourself, you are an enabler of your own pain. Let's just sit with that for a minute, because sometimes we don't see it that way. And sometimes what we say is that, oh my God, I've given them all I've got. Then sis, why would you do that? Why would you give someone all you've got and you're not filling up? How are you going to be replenishing? Right? And sometimes we replenish based on the energy that we are also receiving. So hear me out now and ask yourself this question this morning. Are you an enabler of your own pain? That just hit me like bam, deep. Meaning that, do you continue to remain in places and spaces and environments that are just not in alignment with the experience you desire to have, with who you see yourself becoming? So it's not a supportive and it's not a loving environment. It's a destructive environment. How can you blame another person if you continuously participate, or if you continue to remain in that situation? Why do you feel, right, that those persons are totally responsible? That is my question. Because I often, when I'm coaching and I'm listening and I'm thinking, sis, why would you stay there? What values are you not honoring when you are choosing to remain in these situations? These are questions, self-leaders, that we must ask ourselves, especially moving into 2021. We don't know what it's bringing, but we want to be intentional about the relationships, the partnerships, the friendships, the experiences that we are creating for ourselves, or the ones that we choose to actively participate in. So are you an enabler of your own pain, of your own discomfort? Do you continue to allow others to devalue you by not leveling up It is just time to elevate you. If your friends, your family, and coworkers are tolerating you instead of celebrating you, then it is time for you to elevate you. Right? So let us not get it twisted and continue to blame other people. And it comes from the mindset that we have sometimes that is limited, thinking this is the only person. I know of individuals, I coach individuals, I've had conversations with individuals, I know of friends who are in situations, right, that is not feeding them. They don't feel good, but they're hoping, or they'll say, in Jamaica, I'm going to use this saying, no better na day a John shop, meaning that this is as good as it gets. I'm here to tell you that there is always more, always more. So if you are settling in an environment that is not fostering your growth, your development, and doesn't allow you to feel good, you know what happens when there is no movement of water, or if something is stagnated. After a while, the stench will start to rise. So are you in an environment where there's no movement? It's not clear. There's no clarity. There's no movement. And if there's no movement, it means there's no growth. Are you really stuck? Or are you choosing to remain there knowing damn well that it's not serving you? Because in your mind, it starts there. You are thinking this is it, and it will not get any better. If you believe that abundance is your divine birthright, then you should also be experiencing abundance in your friendships and in your relationships. If you realize that you're putting out too much just to be accepted, just to be embraced, just to be loved, maybe it is time to check yourself. Because sis, hear me out. There is an environment that is ready and waiting for you. But sometimes we get complacent. Sometimes we get lazy. Sometimes we get afraid. And as a result, we become numb. But you can't say that you are a loving person when you are not demonstrating self-love. And one of the first steps is to ensure that you are in an environment that will foster that. Just some questions for you to think about. There's not just one person who can love upon you, sis. There's not just one guy who can just do it right for you, or one person who can just do it right for you. There's not just one job that will pay you. Maybe you need to create your own. There's not just one friend who will listen to you. That thinking is limited. So it is time to start thinking outside of these areas and ask yourself, am I in an environment that's loving? Or am I an enabler of my own pain and of my own discomfort because I continue to participate in these activities and these experiences? I don't speak out. I'm not asking for what I need. Sometimes it's just a matter of articulating it. Hey, this is not really working for me. I know that you serve me like coffee every day, but deep down, I'm really a lover of tea. So maybe we can switch it up and not serve me coffee anymore. Sometimes you have to be brave enough to say it, articulate it, because sometimes they don't know. And sometimes you've accepted something for such a long time. Here's the danger. Here's the danger with not being brave enough to articulate what you need. So you accepted a particular behavior for a long time because you doubted yourself, because you were afraid to ask for what you need. And as a result, you settled. This is not the settling space. This is the more space. We settle for more, which means that you're never settling. And if you've done that for a long time, after a while, resentment starts building up. Like the minute you decide to say, hold up, this is not working for me. Sometimes we don't even say, we just start acting a way, we start behave a particular way, right? People are now going to think that you are demonstrating an attitude, that you have changed, you're not the same person, and it causes conflict. Wherein, had you been brave enough to articulate it, can you still? Yes, absolutely. It's now all about how you structure that conversation. And here's the truth. Sometimes something worked for us in the beginning. It worked. But after a while, because you're growing and developing, because you're self-leaders and you're CEOs, something may just not work for you anymore. And remember that at any time you have the opportunity to hit that reset button. That is your divine right to do a new thing. But are you doing it in a manner that is not causing conflict, not causing chaos, not causing you grief or the other person grief or pain? Here are some things that you need to think about. What is your environment like? Okay. It is easy to convince yourself that you must stay where you are because you have no place else to go, or because things could be worse. Sometimes it has to get worse before it gets better, or because things could get better, right? It is easy to overlook things that eat away at your sense of self, your sense of value, your sense of well-being. As easy as it may be, self-leaders, to blame someone else, to try to ignore what you feel, to call your pain a sacrifice for love, you are not being loving or not being wise when you do so. Eventually, you will be held responsible for everything you experience and how you respond to it. Because after a while, you will run out of steam. The energy, after a while, it just won't taste good anymore. After a while, you just won't be able to accept it and embrace it. And that is when you start screaming out. And you may do so verbally, but your body language, your attitude, your behavior may become defensive because there's something that's coming against you that's not working for you. And so innately sometimes we strike out. Do we really have to wait until we get to that point and that place? Love does not ask us to lose ourselves, harm ourselves, or sacrifice ourselves for its sake. Love offers itself to us measure for measure. Love offers itself to us measure for measure. So if you and I are in partnership, if you and I are in a relationship, if you and I are friends, and I'm taking more from you than I'm giving, or I'm giving more than I'm getting, it's not measure for measure. It means that it's not a loving environment. It's not balanced. It's not reciprocated. Eventually, someone will run out of steam. If you are being dishonored, disrespected, physically harmed for the love you give, you must ask yourself, am I really giving love, or am I simply afraid to leave? Are you really giving love or overgiving? Or is there the fear of leaving? we often remain in a particular situation because we are afraid of the unknown. We often procrastinate about the actions that we should take because there's anxiety around the unknown. We spoke about change a couple of days ago or weeks ago. We don't know what the future holds. And sometimes you don't know, and you'll never know unless you are intentional about who you are being in certain situations. I did a course, and I think the instructor asked a question like, how do you tidy your house? We're talking about it like, oh, you just get up and do it. Da, da, da. No, you plan an event. So if you know that people are coming over, you're usually more prone to do it. So what is that one thing that you can plan ahead of time, which is called that keystone act, that will impact how you show up on a daily basis? Are you remaining in a place hoping that it will change simply because you are afraid to leave? So I'm going to give you some tips. Decide, is this where I truly want to be? Or am I feeling that there is more? First step, do you want more? Is this working for you? Do you feel honored? Do you feel valued? Do you feel respected? Number 2, imagine what it would feel like and write that down if you were in an environment that was loving, an environment that honored you, in friendships, in places, if you had those experiences. And then ask yourself, who do I need to be in this moment to start creating those experiences for myself? First question. And the second question is, what am I willing to do? Not what must I do? It sounds so heavy. What must I do? No. What am I willing to do? Are you willing to create a plan? Are you willing to start reading on how to make effective changes in your life? Do you need to update your resume? Do you need to once and for all just have a conversation? Say, hey, hon, you know what? I know over the past years, I really enjoyed coffee. But I've just acquired this new taste for tea. And I know that you mean well when you serve me the coffee in the mornings, but sweetie, it's not working for me. Give the person an opportunity to say, hey, I'd be more than happy to make you some tea, or, tea making is not my thing. And then you are able to then decide, is this where you want to be? But moving into the new year, it is time to stop enabling our pain. It is time to take full responsibility for the environments that we find ourselves in, and most importantly, the ones that we choose to stay in. Because it is not loving to stay in a place or experience where you're happy sometimes and sad most of the times. So you may have participated in being unloving towards yourself. Today, I'm going to ask you to allow yourself to stand in the truth and honor yourself by knowing that you deserve to be in a loving relationship. Ask yourself this question. If it's the only question you ponder today, am I receiving all that I am giving? If not, then ask yourself, why not? Because when you choose to ask those questions and to rise above the experience that is settling, the place that's not moving, there's no love, there's no growth. When you choose to do that, self-leaders, you are in fact settling for more.